What's up, guys? Happy Wednesday. Welcome back to the Flyaway. We actually knew this week we're going to put some turkey content out for you guys, but we just landed in the great Salt Lake City. We're here for the Hunt Expo. We got a booth for Born and Raised Calco, Born and Raised Outdoors. So hopefully if you're in the greater Salt Lake area, you guys can come down, check us out. We're at the Hunt Expo. Hope to see you this weekend. But in the meantime, want to announce the winner of the 107-day giveaway of the waterfowl season, Josh Herman from Molalla, Oregon. You are the winner. So we have a ton of huge prizes. Thank you guys for all that participated in the giveaway. Excited to spend some time with you in the field, Josh. Take you on a couple waterfowl hunts here in the next season coming up for the 22-23 season. But we got turkeys on the brain. We're going to do a little smorgasbord of a little turkey hunting, little waterfowl hunting as we wrap up the season. We got a bunch of videos in the hopper. Anyways, let's roll with it. So hopefully here's 5 tips that can help you guys kill a gobbler this spring. In case you missed it, we actually, Born and Raised Calco, our call company that we own, we launched our own turkey calls. Super excited. We've got 3 of the friction calls. We've got glass, slate, and then we've got some combo of mouth reeds, split V, combo cutter, ghost cut. It's been one of those trial and errors over the last couple of years, refining them, what we want. We're excited to finally bring those to market. You can hit the link in the description below. Go check those out and shop. Appreciate your guys' support. It means the world to us. So with that, let's get in here and go through the steps on how we kill public land gobblers. If you're new here on the channel, appreciate you clicking on this video and checking us out. We're here to entertain, educate, and inspire. Right now, we're in the full ramp up mode of spring turkey. Today, we're gonna cover our 5 steps to killing public land gobblers. But if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. And if you like this video, hit the thumbs up. It means a lot to us. Show your appreciation. We just super grateful for that. I'm really excited to kind of break down the steps we go along to find a gobbler, call them in, get them killed, have that success at the end of the day. Birds there, it's always All right, so part of step number 1 on the whole scouting process for turkeys for me begins right here at the computer. And what I'm gonna go for is kind of go make a plan and go execute that plan in the field that you'll see later on in the video. I've already kind of made some phone calls to biologists, asked, in Oregon we've got a bunch of public land birds that have been transplanted. Kind of got some ideas as to where they might be, some regions. Found this area that looks pretty awesome. And what I'm gonna focus in here is some of these areas around the private. Look for access points. I'll start marking out some waypoints and where I could park. And then this ridge system that I just found is a perfect spot for a gobbler to roost. There's kind of this whole finger ridge system and some private down below, some of those fields that those hens will go to early in the year. And so what I'm gonna do, I'll just start marking waypoints on where and make a plan. And so right here, I'm gonna jump in. There's a really cool spot right here where I can park. BLM's got access, and it looks like there's an old cat road right there. So we'll go up on this ridge and just start marking out some waypoints, points of interest. And this is a good point where you can make, a lot of times I color code them as yellow. For me, it's like that's a point of interest. And once I confirm that that's actual birds there, I'll change the color of that waypoint or make a new waypoint. And that's the biggest thing, is you get out in the field, don't just go blind, start with a plan and go look for sign. All right, so kind of the breakdown, you guys saw us kind of at home planning. First thing I'm gonna start looking for is gonna be tracks, droppings, feathers, strut marks, scratching. Those types of signs that we're looking for once we're in the woods. If we can't lay eyes on turkeys, of course, that using binoculars and glass in open areas where we might see them. But first stop right here. Stop alongside the road and found droppings, turkey droppings right here and there. Good sign of turkeys that use this. This stuff doesn't last that long, so and we're just going to kind of work this road edge. We'll look for puddles where those tracks are going to be in. They'll last a lot longer than on gravel, or you know, look for those muddy spots where we can get eyes on seeing if there's turkeys in the area. And then too, while you're covering the ground in the truck, looking for feathers, looking like see any kind of puddle or any mud alongside that, stop, get out, take a look, make that plan work for you. All right, so one of the keys when I'm out scouting, what I will do is I see tracks, I see signs, I see strut marks, or I hear gobble or something like that, I'm gonna mark that waypoint on Onyx. And I like to organize my waypoints, color code them. I'll use like yellow is one of those when I'm scouting, it's kind of the potential. And then a lot of times I'll put green as in confirmed in the field. And then I've got it as year to year too as well. So I'll change colors year to year to know, oh, that was last year, 2 years ago. But like right now, we just found a bunch of droppings and some tracks on the road. This is a new area. I'm gonna go ahead and mark a new waypoint. Use the turkey track symbol for that one and mark that as green as in confirmed, cyan. So just like that, we got it saved. So more things to kind of look at. We talk about scratching and what those turkeys are doing. Oftentimes this is where you'll see that hen zone, and they're going to come in and they're going to scratch all the leaves underneath and start pecking for bugs and any kind of food source. Turkeys don't like super thick stuff. They like to use, their number one thing for safety is vision, right? So they like open areas, whether it's meadows or like this, an old cat road. So a lot of times preseason scouting, I'm looking for those ridges that I'm going to locate off of during season as well. So I'll hike out these ridges. This is a perfect one. It's got an old cat road. There's finger ridges off of it. So when we broadcast sound during season, you can hear a long ways. I don't like to turkey call preseason, but a lot of times what I'll do is I'll bring my goose call, short reed goose call, and we do a couple different location calls, but it's a shot gobble. So the two sound profiles I use. Look for that terrain features of a ridge that you can hike out and get sound to travel off and broadcast. And a lot of times those gobblers, what they'll look for is they'll be out on a finger ridge off of the main ridge, and it's their nature is to gobble and have the hens come to them. So what we're trying to do during hunting season is actually break that down and have them come to us, which is unnatural for them. But they'll be down and they'll gobble and they'll broadcast that sound around the whole basin. And that's for them, hey ladies, come over here. But trying to get in those areas where you can be up above them and hear them from a long ways away. So look for those ridges, hike them out, look for sign. Touched on earlier about gobblers. They gobble in the spring, and the two best times to hear them gobble in the dark while they're on the roost, either in the morning or in the evening. We're out here midday right now, so a little bit lower on the chance of actually hearing a gobble, and they're going to gobble the most usually while they're in that tree. So use the dark or right at daylight while they're still in the roost. Cover as much ground as you can. If you've been in the woods and you kind of have a general idea where they might roost up from year to year, go check those in the dark, like I said, in the morning or in the evening as they go to roost. All right, so guys, we're transitioning to the hunt section of the video, and basically after that preseason scouting or scouting during season, trying to find birds in areas, once you leave that truck, and if you haven't located a gobbler yet, what we're gonna use, and we talk about ridges and stadiums. So we're on this main ridge. It's really good to access. You can hear on both to the north of us and to the south of us here. And turkey's not gonna use this thick, steep stuff, but looking on Onyx, there's a nice basin down there. There's a couple meadows, and I'm just going to broadcast call. And so we'll use these ridges as travel corridors. Oftentimes out here in the west, there's some nice logging roads, old cat roads that you can use. So you can cover the ground as quick as possible and quietly. But when you come to a spot, I kind of break it down. We start with a mouth call, soft yelps. Then we'll go into a little bit louder yelp to a cut series with the mouth diaphragm, get a little bit louder in case that bird's only 100 yards. You don't want to come up here and blow that goose call as loud as you can. You might startle them, scare them. So we'll start real quiet and then just eventually kind of work through that series, getting a little bit louder, trying to then maybe broadcast all the way down on this basin. After that, we'll go into a friction call. So a lot of times we'll hit that pot call and get a little bit louder, start cutting. If you don't get a response then, that's where you go into the crow call or scarecrow, and then into the goose call. And oftentimes too in the dark, owl hoot does really good too. So that's kind of the process we use. I'll go through those sounds right now. Just real quiet on that first 3 or 4 yelps. Listen, be patient. Next up, we'll get a little bit louder on the yelps. So on that round, we didn't get a bird to gobble off the mouth call. That's where I'll jump on a friction call. Next up, after you do those soft yelps and get a little bit louder on the yelps, well, key is like sometimes a bird will respond to a certain sound, a certain tone, kind of work through that. If they can't get them on a yelp, a lot of times too, you can start cutting at them. So that's a lot of times on the turkey sound. So if there's a gobbler somewhat close, he hears a hen, he's going to gobble, then you can scramble to figure out the setup on what you want. If you don't hear that, or if you hear a long range gobble, but you didn't quite know exactly where it is, a lot of times this is where we'll try to pinpoint it. And the key on locate calling is really pinpointing that gobble. And it's using your ears, using the map, kind of all your senses to kind of put the puzzle together. So we'll go into a scarecrow or crow call. What we've learned over the past couple years is hammering on our scarecrow sound. So it's going to be more of like that raven, crow, trying to maybe get another crow to respond to that, where and this sound really carries good. Carries out long ways, and it works really well to get gobblers to respond. We'll work through that series of sounds. If you can't get that to fire off a bird, it's when you're going to go into the goose call noise. And that you can hear that tone, that lower tone carries really good on sound, long ways down there. So that's how we kind of go through the locating. And the key that we found when we're goose calling, you can hear sound a long ways away, and the trouble a lot of times is trying to work through getting that location pinpointed. So if we've got multiple guys, we'll spread out, cover some distance so you can get kind of different angles. But we hear a gobble, we all kind of point the direction we think it is, confirm, yep, okay, that bird gobbled down there. Next step, what we're going to do is pull out Onyx. Pull that out, realize where you're at. Okay, we're on this finger, he's down in that bottom or up the other side. I'll run it in hybrid mode so you can see the topo, and then sure enough, okay, there's a meadow down in the bottom right there. Chances are that's where that sound came from. I'm going to scroll and mark an Onyx waypoint where we think that gobble is, so we have reference. And now once we've located him, we know where he's at. Is that next step onto where to set up. So the key on turkey hunting is that critical point of setting up. I like to run and gun without decoys, but we'll also talk about a decoy setup. They do vary a little bit different. But if we're running and gunning without a decoy, it's trying to find a spot where you can shoot, where that bird's going to come in, and the second he comes in to look where that sound is coming from, you can get him killed. And a lot of times I'll use barriers instead of being able for them to see 100, 150 yards. I like where they have to come to almost to the point where that sound is in order to see them. So if there's a little lip in the terrain and a drop off, that's where I'm going to set up to where it's only a 30-yard shot to that edge. So if we got a bird gobbling down here in the bottom, looks good. We're going to jump back in the shadow, get a good base cover around us with trees, and shoot them right over here. And the big thing too is looking for obstructions of travel. If it's super thick and a big wall, they're not gonna go through that. But it's a nice open area. This right here would be a good spot where it's cover, and all of a sudden right down there we can get them killed. Movement is key in those setups. I'm trying to minimize that. Camouflage, hands and face. So tree selection is critical. I think a lot of people look for the most comfy spot. Well, sometimes that can be a bad deal. This is a good tree. It's nice and comfortable. It's got a good base. It's wide, so they aren't going to pick you up. But I do really like trees with a lot more brush around them for coverage. And also always look for that shaded option. You don't want to be out in that sun because they will pick you apart. That's a good tree for option. Shooting lane's not great, so I'd actually move down to here to this tree right here that's got more coverage on it. Alright, so that tree selection, I'm in the shade. It's nice, it's got coverage on it. It's not going to be able to pick apart my profile. Key when you're getting set up is get that gun up in position, minimal movement. So we're in shooter position ready. I got a good shooting lane. He's got to walk out to there to see that sound where it came from. They're really good at pinpointing where that sound came from. Make sure you're able to get that bird killed if he comes into range. What we want to kind of talk about is to use a decoy or not. I personally love the run and gun, not carrying a decoy, not using them. You know, turkey's #1 defense is their vision, and I feel like a lot of times it is easier to get a bird killed with a decoy. I kind of like the challenge of not using one, but just a typical setup. One thing, like when I am using a decoy, I won't use a full strut decoy, tom decoy on public land. We use a real fan with that Hignan decoy. I'm just sketched out by other people, but we'll only use that on private land if we're hunting some private. But on a setup, a lot of times, as you can see here, I've got that Jake and then that breeding hen on the ground, another hen out, so a mini flock per se. I won't get, like if the bird's coming from a straight line, a lot of times I won't set the decoy and me in a straight line, because that turkeys, as soon as they see that decoy, you know, they're locked in on that. If I'm in that peripheral vision in line with that, chances are if I had to move, came in a different spot, they can pick me off. So I'm not going to be in that zone. A lot of times I'm going to try to set up to where I'm going to be off the side of that. So in this case, we had a bird gobbling right over the ridge right here. He's going to come up and over, and I'm going to be set up right over here on the back side, shooting out in front, you know, where I can cover the decoys, but I can also shoot before that bird actually gets to the decoys. When you do set up those decoys, make them so they are in a visible spot. You can see here this Jake and hen is out in the sun, the other one's on that shadow line. They're good visible areas. Those birds can approach that decoy. It definitely builds confidence setup on that bird coming in, knowing that there's sound coming from that area. Yep, sure enough, there's a turkey right there. So their decoys are killer, man, they really are. It's fun to watch too. On a tom get all strutted up and come in and try to kick the crap out of the Jake decoy. But once you're set up and that bird's gobbling on his own, how do you call that bird in? 9 times out of 10, the 2 calls that I use the most is going to be a pot call and a mouth call. Just a little hot turkey tip here. One thing I always carry with me, I learned this from Zach at the Hunting Public, and wore both. Carrying a lighter with you. It's pretty easy to condition a friction call, a pot call, but a lot of people overlook the striker. So you carry a lighter and you can burn that, takes that moisture out and conditions that for the friction call. Works pretty well. So always carry a lighter with you, the old Bic. We're set up. I'm just acting as a caller here. Got my hunting buddy down here set up in front of me, another 5 to 7 yards. I'm just gonna try to keep my movements minimal. I got a friction call right here, ready to go. Case, gloves, mask, the whole works. We're going to try to conceal those movements as best we can. A lot of times too will turn sideways, so this open isn't out in front, but it's actually concealed between my legs right there. Tough thing with gobblers is he by himself or is he with hens? Like I said before, their movements, it's unnatural for them to come to the hen. Their instinct is to strut and gobble in one place. So a lot of times people say, oh, he's hung up. Well, no, he's doing what he's genetically engineered to do, and that's gobble and strut in a visible area. It's definitely a challenge to get him to come to you, but use those yelps, use his cuts, get him excited, and shut up. Play that game of cat and mouse. And if you're not making progress of you coming to him, let that curiosity be like, all right, I know she's over there, she got excited, I'm gonna go search her out. So some of those sounds similar in that location side of it. We'll start off soft, quiet, just purr. Two, use your hands. Make, if you're in leafy area, hen scratching. You can hear that a long ways away, especially if you're in a good leafed area. So just crunching in the leaves, keep movements minimal, but use that as an auxiliary sound. You got a cluck purr. We'll go in on a yelp. Quiet. A lot of guys tend to overcall when it's coming to birds. They get loud and call a lot. My rule of thumb, if that bird is gobbled or is not gobbling on his own and he didn't gobble to your last call, minimum wait 5 minutes before that next yelp. Oftentimes it's not just this continual calling hoping they're going to come. Do that curiosity. Cadence is key, and that natural. Listen to as many hens as you can to get that sound and that cadence down. Yep, 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 yep. A lot of times it'll build in volume, and then once that cut sound is going to be that. Cut, yelp. Now we go onto the mouth call side of it, those sounds. Purr, Persian clucks. A little bit louder with those yelps. Go into a cut. Some of those common sounds you use turkey hunting, I prefer using a friction call as much as I can. I'm a little bit better on it, and I can be quieter. With me, I blow a lot of air with a diaphragm, so it's a little bit challenging to get that quiet, natural sound. Like I said, it's very easy to go in the woods and call a lot, call too loud, call too often. Play that, tone it down a little bit, and then on the last step, you got that bird, he's hammered, but you think he might be hung up. A lot of the instinct is to just continually call and call and call. Shut up. Give him 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Don't make a sound. Let that curiosity build with him. And that's kind of that finishing, closing that bird. And a lot of times too, if things are working, you got that bird fired up and he gobbles and now he's moving off. Reposition, start that program, that playbook again, but let him chill out for a half hour, 20 minutes or longer before you go after him. So I like a lot of times being quiet, doing those purrs and clucks. Here's some of that real world application in the woods, in the turkey woods, getting a bird to gobble off of that.
Oh, that's a big tom. He was a hard worker, dude.
He was a hard worker.
It's like he made a really good shot.
It was
It was a long poke through the trees.
trying to figure out. I figured that tree right there is where I figured was my furthest shot.
That one?
Yeah, this one.
This one right here.
Which I figured was like 45-ish.
He was working just outside for a long time, man.
He's like stone cold dead.
Yeah, well, look where you shot him. You got him right in the face.
Doubled up on dogs. So with those yelps, those soft yelps, tree yelps when they're in the dark, here's some of that footage of birds in the tree still when you're doing those soft, quiet mouth yelps.
That's a good sign, huh? Noah, I think the way that cove is, it's like a little, they can't hear very well back in there. Yeah. So that was the first time I called loud, they finally answered. Fly out any minute. Kill him.
That one? Yeah. He just rolled it.
Kill him.
That one?
So that's basically that yelp, that's the key to killing birds a lot of times. Here's some of that in the woods, chasing a gobbler, yelping at him, and playing that cat and mouse game with him.
There's turkeys in here. It's just not gobbling. We knew there was a turkey somewhere in here. Drop it. Holy cow.
Shot.
He came over that knob. He was expecting to see a hen. When he didn't see a hen, he knew something was up.
Sometimes too, you just got to really amp it up, intensity level, getting into those cuts, loud yelp, going into the cuts, yap, 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 and getting that bird fired up. Here's some of that fun stuff in the turkey woods, getting a bird fired up and getting him to come in. Doubled up. All right, guys, that's a wrap of the 5 steps to kill gobblers on public land. And 2, hit the comment section below if there's something there that you've got a step or a trick that you like to do to kill those birds. Hit the comment section, tell us below. We'd love to hear them. Again, scouting, locating, calling, setup, and finishing them, killing that bird is the critical points of it. I'm just stoked to be out here. Springtime, gobblers are going to be just hammering here pretty soon, and we've got a bunch of content coming here on the Born and Raised channel and also on the Flyway channel. So check both, hit the subscribe on both. We'd appreciate it. And yeah, get out there, have fun, and don't remember, it only takes that one.